Hi, my name is Greg Crow-Hartman. I work at the Linux Foundation as a fellow. I'm a Linux kernel developer. I release stable Linux kernels as well as doing other driver development. Linus releases development kernels about once every 3 months. I do the stable kernels about once every week. I got involved with Linux many years ago. I used to use it where I worked. I was a programmer. I wrote embedded devices, firmware for embedded devices. I had to interact my devices with all sorts of operating systems. Linux was just coming around. It was just getting USB support. I was creating a USB device. I had to get it to work. I contributed a patch to make a change and it was accepted. I was like, hey, that's great. Over time I submitted more and more patches and I wrote a driver for a device I had that Linux didn't support because I was using Linux on my own desktop. Suddenly, over time, I realized that more people were using my driver I wrote for free than anything I'd ever got paid for because the companies I worked for never did very well. And the dot-com boom started and there was more and more need for Linux developers. I got a job being a Linux kernel developer full-time and haven't looked back since. It's been a great opportunity and I really enjoy doing this. Linux is an operating system. At its core, it's just a kernel. It talks to the hardware, it makes the hardware work, it makes it able to run programs that do what you want to do. It's very unique in the fact that there are lots of other operating systems out there, but our development community is very different. We have over 2,000 developers every year contributing to it from over 400, maybe 500 companies. It's the largest single software project ever in the history of mankind. We contribute at a rate of about, 10 patches a day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week go into this code. It's constantly updated, constantly revised, constantly changing because the world changes and we have to react to a changing world. If an operating system stops changing, and the world, of course, doesn't stop changing, it will die. Linux constantly is improved, constantly is updated in order to handle the changing world. The more you know about Linux, the better off you can be. Linux is used everywhere and we need help using it. There's almost no part of the world that does not use Linux. If you have skills in Linux, we have tons of jobs out there. We need people who are programmers, we need people who are sysadmins, we need people to document the stuff, we need people to test the stuff. And it's a fun thing to play with. You can play with it and create things out of it, so you can also have fun while you're doing it, and you help feel that you're part of a larger community that's doing something great. This course will teach you the fundamentals of what Linux is, how to use the command line, how to use the graphical interface. It is self-guided. You can sign up for it at any time and take it at your own pace. Thank you for your interest in Linux. I hope you enjoy the course. Linux is a wonderful experience. It provides great opportunities for jobs, for future, for creating new and wonderful devices. I hope you enjoy this.
Let's start your introduction to the world of Linux by covering some of the basics. First, we'll talk about the Linux Foundation and what we do. Then we'll talk about the logistics of this online course. And finally, if you haven't done so already, we'll walk you through the process of choosing a Linux distribution that's right for you. Let's get started.
There is no other event like it anywhere on the planet, period.
So much energy and ideas are embraced. The community and the enthusiasm is just amazing.
This is the end-all be-all #1 that I look forward to each year.
Linux Foundation events are unique because it's a place where the developer community and industry meet in real time to make real technical decisions.
It's a lot of very high value and influential people in the open source community, and it's a great way to take a litmus test of what the Linux community has to offer.
Speakers say things here that they will not say anywhere else.
The Linux Foundation events are just a good exchange between the industry and the community.
The most important thing about Linux and other free and open source software development is the collaboration between human beings. We work better when we know the people we're working with.
The networking opportunities have been fantastic.
Get a lot more done in a couple days than you do all year just exchanging emails and phone calls.
A lot of different opportunities to both communicate with people that you already know and to meet some people who might have different perspectives.
I think that the overlap of LinuxCon and the Cloud Open is bringing a good group of different people together to kind of collaborate and have interesting conversations. And so I think that's a unique aspect of this conference that we don't get anywhere else.
One of my favorite things about LinuxCon is that it's always in a different city. You get a little bit of the experience of wherever you are.
Linux Foundation events are really fun events and a really interesting mix of people.
In New Orleans, we had the floats. It was like being in a New Orleans parade down the street to the House of Blues. It was fantastic. The parties sometimes are more effective than the sessions, is the truth.
It's a time for people to build relationships so that they can work even more effectively down the line.
If you want to help shape the future of the products and services that you're consuming, it's a great place to give input to the people that are actually creating your next generation of technology.
Your world will change with each person that you meet. Everyone's open. They're sharing the opportunity for you to learn about what they're doing.
It's exciting.
Lots of people, lots of interactions.
Great community. It's got a bit of everything. Geeky happiness.
There are a ton of Linux jobs available on the market today, and there are not enough system administrators and developers to fulfill that demand. The Linux Foundation exists to advance the platform and make sure that there is a strong pool of talent to meet the market's needs.
We're here to teach them what's in Linux and how they can quickly start using it, how they can make a contribution as well. And it's because of the scattered nature of a lot of things in Linux, it would be difficult for people to assemble all that material on their own.
Taking the course here landed me the lead spot with the Linux team.
You have a task to do, we want to help you to do it quickly.
Learned a lot of shortcuts, a lot of ways that I could be watching and monitoring server usage and I/O usage.
One is we're vendor neutral. We don't particularly promote one variety of Linux over another, one distribution or whatever. We try to make sure that everything will work on every distribution. Secondly, we keep everything extremely up to date. For instance, all our kernel level classes, we issue a new version of the material every time a new kernel comes out.
The one thing that shocked me is because the kernel moved so fastly, or so quickly, that he was up to date and knew exactly where things were and what was already dated within his own manual.
The third thing is that because the foundation has a strong connection with a lot of leading kernel developers, we get a very good idea on what's going on in the community. We have some of those people review our material and make suggestions and contribute to the development of them. We try to keep the classes at about 50% hands-on exercise time and about 50% lecture time.
Jerry was wonderful. He gave us his email so we could contact him if we had other questions, which I did.
When students take the class, they get detailed courseware manuals. It can be rather fat books, quite a few hundred pages in some cases, that are not just a series of slides that give bullet points, but are detailed books.
I'm glad it comes with the booklet because this is something that if you don't use, you forget. But if something comes up in a few years, I can open the booklet and remember and say, hey, we can do this without hiring a consultant.
You tap into the pool of the Linux Foundation resources, our summits, our events, our materials, additional white papers. We are a resource for you to grow your career and your network and integrate into both the professional community as well as the developer community for open source.
Well, I was shocked that I was contacted afterwards by the Linux Foundation by Mike Wolster, who was actually helping corporations fill positions for kernel developers.